guys, it's Billy, back again, making some more videos. In this video, we will be showcasing a process for key concept images, similar to my previous video. The only difference is we will be doing it in a fashion for like film or sort of a looser format. So they're not as polished images, but they're still very useful for a production setting. At the beginning, you would have seen me there just taking a bunch of images and creating a trim sheet to help me build out the scenes that I need to make, and just some standard materials. In Blender, I've just added a very simple deform in the material, which is just basically putting a displacement node within the shader and using a decent amount of subdivision surface modifiers, and that way I'm able to get a bit more of a realistic result just straight off the bat with a very limited amount of effort put in. I will say that in this video we were using the CGC characters that have been photo scanned characters, and I'll have a little bit of a shout out portion in the end of this video. I'll just scroll through their website and show you guys their awesome array of characters that they've got, and for a pretty affordable price. I feel like for quick and dirty concept key processes for a production setting, I think characters like that make a lot of sense. Saves you a bunch of time having to draw characters, especially if the ones that they've already got can be modified. It just makes image creation so much easier. So in this process, it is very 3D heavy. I just wanted to walk you guys through a bit more of a slightly different take on how you guys can treat these images. What you can actually go through, like what hoops you can go through to get to a final result. There's so many different ways of working. Everyone and every artist is completely different. There is some relativity though, but I do enjoy the process, especially for like a realistic, let's say IP, where it's pretty standard as far as like, walls are walls and wood is wood. There's no like language parameters for certain things like that. It makes a lot of sense to take textures and even go outside and take some photos and just use a height map displacement to generate your objects within your Blender scene. Definitely helps with that realism and speeds up that process a great deal. So this is sped up a lot. I think we're around about, I think for this piece it would have been around about an hour and a half or 2 hours. Both pieces that I'm showcasing in today's video were roughly around the same time frame, so about 2 hours for each. And for that, I'm not being too particular with my polish. I'm not being too particular with getting absolutely everything perfect in the scene. But with that being said, I'm still using as many tricks as I can possibly use to basically make it still look cool and as good as it can be within that time frame. So it's about an hour in Blender, and then it's about an hour in Photoshop. Maybe even less in Photoshop. I think maybe only 40 minutes, and then an hour and 20 in Blender. But as you can see, I'm making great use of these characters. They're very performative. They imported into Blender completely seamlessly as well. They've just done a really good job of making these characters be usable for pieces of artwork like this. And obviously you can have a great deal of modification over top of it if you're a 2D painter or illustrator as well. You can really get in there and modify these characters and use them more as like a base for the piece that you're creating. Which on this one, the zombie dude that's getting blasted back from the shotgun, I went into him a little bit in Photoshop and sort of refined his forms and his lighting and made him feel a little bit more integrated into what I was hoping for the zombie to look like. And the rest of it was just basically clean up. So I was sort of showing you guys there as well, like a little bit of back and forth between Photoshop and Blender, like having a game of tug of war. If you are trying to create decals, in your scene, it might be useful to do that in Photoshop and then import that back into Blender and play tug of war between the two things. I know for like the fire, the fog, even the blood splatters, that could have all been generated in Photoshop. So here's a really quick and dirty Photoshop setup. So we got mist pass, one set to screen for the depth in the scene, and one set to multiply for the other side of the depth, basically hitting the lighter portion of the scene and the darker portion of the scene to sort of create an instant value break and contrast. And as you can see already, you have quite a strong contrast between the characters and the background or the environment. I used a few other layers, I think normal, emission, just a few simple render passes to help me like instantly select certain portions that I wanted to select. So this is where I go into that character and start to refine the way that I would like him to look. Nothing too detailed, really just changing it to look the way that I would like it to look for, my image, my world, my version of a zombie, whatever that is. Putting some bounce light on a lot of things, like this character from the flare from the shot. Obviously we're capturing like an exact moment in time where that bullet is hitting this zombie and throwing him backwards. So trying to create that light flare from that from the gun back onto that character as well. Now, to be perfectly realistic with you guys about this image, it is pretty dirty process, and I'm using a lot of, like, let's say, tricks to get it to look somewhat okay and to pull it away from that 3D look that we were getting. So yeah, there's pretty much, we're starting to come to the end of it here as I just get rid of all of the stuff that I don't like. And here is the final. So pretty fast process, as you can see. I'm pretty happy with how that one turned out. Those characters were extremely useful for me in a scene like that. Now, this may be a little crazy to view because I have sped both of these videos up quite a bit, but it's mainly just to keep the time frame of the video down. I am putting 2 key concepts into one video, so that may be slightly ambitious, and maybe it would have been more beneficial to just do one, but I wanted to give you guys as much things as I possibly could to have it be a good video and informative on how I used those characters and how I assembled these scenes and the process that I went through. Now, this is a very similar process. The only difference is I honestly looked at the scene, as you can see here, and I was trying to find on my other monitor the textures that I would need to basically build out, let's say, a super generic apocalyptic scene similar to The Last of Us, as we've all seen those concept images being made. So I actually had this old kit, like I think it was from 2019 or something. I can't remember when I purchased this kit, but it's a great kit for like destruction, apocalypse. I thought, hey, look, I did show you guys how to do it the raw way in the last image, so this one was just me trying to go through the same process but using basically a kit instead. So it may not be as raw and as organic as it may or should be. I'm not sure, but it still kind of showcases the process nonetheless. So the idea here is to have this broken high-rise bridge, either for, I think initially I was thinking for like a train, right, coming through like the center of a city. And my thoughts behind this were using these characters from CGC and placing them inside this scene for the zombies to be sprawled out across the city. I thought that would be extremely useful for a scene like this, because you can go in and you can paint a bunch of zombies and you can have it, easily just do that way. But I think a lot of the point of having character models like that in your process is that you're just not wasting your time on things that aren't your job, if that makes sense. So I'm sort of treating this as if I'm like, let's say, a environmental artist, and these are very early exploration images for the product that's getting built. So there's no real point in going in and hand painting everything and spending a ridiculous amount of time on that stuff, when really what the job is to capture the essence or the vibe that you are basically proposing to be built for the product. So yeah, you see me just dragging a bunch more rubble assets and set all that up, putting some Boolean modifiers on the bridge. And I did have a few issues with Blender throughout this process, mainly with that kit that's really old. You see it just crashed then. I was just having a few issues with the density of that kit. It has absolutely nothing to do with what I was doing. It just seems to be quite a taxing, quite a dense kit. And I wasn't really willing to put the time in to clean up the kit as I'm working, or even to set up like LODs or, yeah, just a quick decimate may have helped me out a little bit. That's right. We had a few crashes. I deleted the mesh that was causing the issue, and we're back in business. So, yeah, all in all, this was about 2 hours. It's exactly the same time frame as the last image, which is quite funny. I think it's even down to the same, like it's within 10 minutes of each other in terms of the time it took to generate both images. And you'll see me here now just running some quick render tests, dragging those characters backwards into the scene a little bit further, setting up some leading lines with the debris in the foreground, making sure I've got a nice compositional flow leading from the, basically my idea was just to have a bit of a C shape going around that bottom car in the foreground. And just sort of help lead the eye through the scene. Same sort of idea with the rubble that the female character is standing on. Just give her a bit of a leading line to introduce us into this scene. And you'll see me go through the exact same process that I did prior, which is a mist pass. One mist pass will go on screen, the other mist pass will go on multiply or overlay, and then erase the back. It really depends. I use levels as well to sort of drag and push my value breakup. And that's something that I'm always trying to strive for. The images themselves might look a little bit graphic and maybe a little bit simple, but I'm trying to go for that really simplified shape breakup with the values. A little bit of a Ivy process here as well, if anyone's interested in replicating the results that I got. Just keep in mind that I'm a huge nerd of The Last of Us. I've got all of the art books, and I've been fascinated with that game for a while. I think all of us have. It's a beautiful game. The concepts are beautiful. The team did a wicked job at making that IP just come alive. So I'm sort of replicating some of the stuff that I read in that book. I actually read it quite recently as well, again, in the last couple of months. And yeah, the big one is just like not getting bogged down, feeling free to paint back in however, wherever I want to make things the way that I want it to look. And yeah, the big one here for me was just a bit more of a graphical approach, and there is the final result. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And here is the showcase of the CGC character website. Definitely go check it out. Great bunch of guys put this together, and the characters are absolutely seamless in the process. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, subscribe and like. It helps me out a ton. Bye-bye.